Welcome back, guys. Got rained out outside, so we're sitting on a porch to do this. So listen, got something different. We need a good twist on things other than just the average, ordinary take a walk out on the trails. What I have a lot of questions of, once again, are the fact that people are looking at maps more closely to save time. In all the videos you show on maps, it may help you in time to come. But the thing is, how much do you really know and understand about the map that you're looking at? And that's what I try to get across to people. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to enjoy this, and I can't wait for the comments. We're going to test you, I am, on a map. I'm going to show you a map, and I want you to pick out on there where you think the bucks are bedded, and if you were to scout this. And what I have for you is just an aerial photograph. Just a satellite imagery, just an aerial map of an area. I scaled it down to about 600 acres. And what I did a couple years ago, I started scouting this area, okay? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you this area. And what I want you to do at that point, stop the video and look at this map closely, okay? Because what I want to do at that point, I'm going to show you different areas where I started doing my routes. And mentally keep in mind when you see just this map alone, where you think you would start. Now I did scale it down, and I'll give you a little head start on this. There are roadsides, old logging roads around the edge of this where you can enter this area. But this area was attractive to me. It had a lot to work with, I thought. Now at the end of this test, where you think you found the spot, I'm going to show you where the deer were. Okay? So, there's the map that you've been looking at since I've been talking right now. Now, here's what I'm showing you now. We're going into where I started. I took the north side of this area because I thought there was a logging trail. Now, here's the catch with aerial maps versus other GPS hunting apps, contour lines, things like this. Just an aerial photograph, you don't know when they took it. Now, when I got there are no roads there other than just grassy old log lanes. And when I came into where I thought were openings, like you see on that map, that's 15 feet popple slashings that they did years ago. So literally, there is no openings in this whole area. But as you can see on my map, you can see my dots where I walked along and checked everything. I put numbers. And mentally, if you think one of those numbers may be a spot that you would check, keep that in mind for the end of this video, okay? And you'll find out if you were right or wrong. Just want to know what you guys really think and what you actually know about these maps like this, where you think you would start. The point is, personally, I head for the water. I head right down there towards the water. And that's where I started. As you can see, I walked down through the water itself, down there, because I started seeing a faint strip of cedar trees, and I love cedar swamps. And what it was a narrow path of cedar, maybe a couple hundred yards wide, and it ran along that, actually that was a beaver pond up in front of that stream. And I walked along there, and then I continued past that cedar swamp, and if you notice, I went down to that little area where they were converging, a couple different streams were coming together, and I thought that would be something to check out too. Then after that, I turned around, and if you notice, there's a transition up on the top northwest corner, and it looked like hardwoods up there. So what do? You want to go check, see if there's any oaks. Naturally, there was. So that looked pretty good up in that area. So I went up through there, checked for oaks, what have you, and then I come around, and I wrap that section up. That was my different scouting that I did in that area. Now, you may prefer somewhere else. Keep that in mind as you're seeing this map, okay? Now, as you have that locked in your mind, and what you saw what I did too, if there's any numbers that you remember, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now the answer. I hope you didn't cheat and look at the answer ahead of time, but I can't help that. Okay, here's the answer. There it is, guys. Number 2 was the winner. They went down through there, and they have been settling all summer. As you can see, these bucks that were in there, there was a little, about a 50-yard diameter opening in the middle of that little cedar swamp. backed up against that popple slashing, and that was a thick popple slashing. They were there from spring all through the summer into the fall. Now, what I did, as you can see the trail, as I marked it and how the deer are going around through there, that trail comes out to a transition of where the oaks begin, and there was a scrape there. That scrape, this is where they checked every day. Now, up comes the pictures from that scrape. I'm showing you pictures so that you know that I'm telling you the truth. This is what actually happened in that area for scouting. They would come there every day to check to see if anybody else came through. And then they went up into the hardlands. And as August began, acorns started dropping towards mid-August. They were hitting the acorns. Then they made a loop around to the north. And they were hitting some of the slashing because after they logged this out years ago, I couldn't even tell you, 15 years ago, whatever, what happens is sunlight produced, the woody stem count was incredible with raspberries, blackberries, lots of various a lot of forbs. Just, it was so lush. And they knew it. And they had the water down below right there. Nobody bothered them. Now here's an interesting point. You may disagree with me, but you always hear about how sensitive a buck is when he's growing his velvet. That swamp and that trail going through that slashing to get to that scrape, I was on my hands and knees trying to get down through brush. Tell me those velvety antlers weren't hitting that brush. They got through there every day. So there's a fine line. I always say it. There's nothing etched in stone. They lived there. Nobody bothered them back there. And they literally lived in the deep woods. They never saw hardly any, not much sunlight their whole life. But that's how they are. That particular bunch of bucks, they live like that. Other bucks you see, they're out in the openings. These particular bucks loved it there. Nobody bothered them. They had everything they wanted. That trail consisted for them, they were living in about a 400-acre area. That was it. That was it. Because there again, if you question that, I did have cameras on the north end, and I set that one, obviously, like you see the pictures, of by the trail itself, or by the scrape itself. That's what they did there. Now, there are other areas. Since then, I did walk that entire area all the way down south, but this area showed the most. And I could follow them because there was old rubs periodically going around through there, and you could pretty well tell where they were going. Here's the tough part. So, you see this on a map, you scout it. Come October, about the 5th, do you know that all those bucks were gone? I mean, gone. They do it every year. Gone. They go out looking for does already. They move into different areas. They had all the food they wanted there. And periodically I'd see one at night coming back to check a scrape, but all those nice bucks, gone. About between the first, second week of October, they were gone. And that's how that works sometimes. But what I wanted to get at this video, to see if you can comprehend what goes on a map. You sort of got to trust your instincts, but yet when you look at something and say, boy, that's guaranteed because of all the things you see, read about, that they may be in that particular spot. Not necessarily. They may be somewhere else. So literally, if you go to just an aerial map like that, you better put the boots on the ground and go check it out, because don't trust it, because you don't know when they took the picture. Like I said, there was no openings there when I got there, and there was hardly any trails. There's an old logging road up to the north that I walked on, trees all over it and grass growing up. But that's what can happen. Now, I'm interested in your comments to see, how did you do on this test? Did you take any of those numbers that I showed you? Or did you find other areas that you thought would have been good? But the truth was right there. They lived right along that beaver pond in a tight little cedar swamp with a little opening against the popple slashing. That was it. So when you go out scouting this time of year, leave everything out and just go looking like that. But my personal feeling, I go to the water first, and I work off of the water itself. I go out in the hills from that point. I don't know why, it's an old habit I had, but I go right to the water first. And most generally, I find something along there. So how'd you like that? Something different, guys? Comment. I want to know how you did on your test, okay? Hey, see ya. Take care until the next time.